Hi, folks. I know I'm popping up at the strangest times, but hey, when you're working all day in a house, you have a chance to get out on a Friday night, you do exactly that. And this is karaoke night, man. So, Rox and I are going to be going out, and I wanted to talk about uh, the second half of the game. I didn't have a chance to. I did the halftime show, but I wasn't staying up to do a post game show for a preseason game. So I figured I'd get an opportunity to talk about it now, and that way leave it up on the internet so that people can catch this later. And if anybody stumbles upon this while I'm broadcasting live, so be it. Uh, Start out with the bad news. There's always some of that. Wide receiver Dalen Baldwin and cornerback Thomas Graham Jr. Baldwin, wide receiver, the cornerback, Thomas Graham, was the guy who gave up the long pass to Zach Wilson. They're out extended time with significant injuries. Greg Newsome II has a groin injury, and absolutely, Derek. It should be right there. It should there should be a link right in. Oh, really? Did I mess that up? Oh, let me take a look here. Yep, now there will be. Thanks for pointing that out, my friend. I refresh your screen there, and I think you'll see the link. Sorry about that. Well, refresh it. Everyone's like, "There's no link." There we go. So Derek is now in the house. Hi, Derek.
What's going on? You caught me at a perfect time.
Oh, that's great because I see every so often up commenting on Twitter or X. I'm not going to call it X. It sounds pornographic. I don't know what This guy's a genius, Elon Musk, and he comes up with X. It sounds like a bad man's aftershave. That's what it sounds like. And we know that there are going to be people who have certain opinions. Double P, it's good to see you here too. Anybody can join now. Just look at the link below the YouTube broadcast, and you'll just click on that, and you'll be sent right into the studio. But Greg Newsome II has a groin injury, which could carry on for weeks. This does present a problem. The joint practices with Philadelphia, he is likely to miss, and those are very important practices indeed. I don't think that Dalen Baldwin and Thomas Graham Jr. Mean that much to the team, although it's really shitty when you're trying to make a team to get injured early like that and not be able to make a statement. So now I can kind of change things around and say, Derek, what was your feeling watching this game?
Oh man. Well, first of all, thank God football's back. I know everybody says it, but it's something about it. It's just
It's
right.
not baseball. That's what it
Yes.
is.
Yep. It's right. It just feels right to have football back. I knew Kellen Mond was gonna suck. I knew it. It was hilarious
Yeah.
because I've been
Yeah.
hating on Kellen Mond forever, and I got people messaging me, I should have listened. It's like, yeah, I could have fucking told you.
He
He's
came as
terrible.
advertised, didn't he?
Oh, he's awful. But on the flip side, it's actually funny. My friend, yeah, I'm calling it Twitter too. He tweeted at me and said, "Hey, you owe me $10 for betting on the Browns." I said, "Hey, don't worry, DTR is coming in." And guess what? DTR came in, and boy, oh boy, I said it. I think it was either after we drafted him or whatever. But he is Deshaun Watson light. He plays just like him. He's athletic. He runs around. He can make the throws. And that kid, he's not just the latest hype train for everybody who's jumping on that bandwagon. This kid set records at UCLA, multiple year starter, veteran in college football. It was fantastic. It was fantastic. All the rookies that played were fantastic. So some negatives, yes, but a lot of really good positive takeaways. I'll be there next week. I can't wait.
Yeah, the thing that bothered me, and because I did a halftime show, And whether it's opening night jitters or the lights went out twice in
Unreal.
Canton, because when they hit the field, I mean, there just wasn't the urgency. And from the offensive side of the ball, Kellen Mond was sleepwalking. He was playing like somebody who didn't believe he had a chance. And he just had a dull, far off look in his eyes, no enthusiasm, throwing nothing but screen passes, holding on to the ball too long, then, God forbid, throwing it into traffic. One pick, could have been two without a question, could have been three, actually. Throwing to people who were double covered. How he missed the linebacker, I have no idea. Crossing the field, should have been right in front of his vision, which tells me that he was throwing the ball late behind the wide receiver anyway, and didn't have the sense to throw the ball away. I've never felt Kellen Mond was anything else but playing his way off the roster, which he effectively did. A guy like Kelly Jr. is a guy who's better than a lot of the guys who are playing in a game like this. He's been to camp a couple times and he's been on the practice squad, but it's going to be a real tough time unless somebody gets hurt for him to get any real playing time with the Browns during the course of a regular season. The who is the cornerback who made the nice break on the fourth down and had a couple of good hits, and I'm not placing his name, Derek.
Are you talking about Cam Mitchell?
Yes, Cam Mitchell.
The rookie we picked?
Yep. He showed well. And
that's what he is. He's physical. He is physical.
And, but that, I mean, you saw the look on Jim Schwartz's face, when they called the celebration penalty against the Browns. Mm-hmm. It's like you can see that Schwartz wants this team to have energy, an identity, a swag, and it was so absent for the first half of the game. It was frustrating. It didn't look like anybody was flying to the ball or anything like that. It looked like people were playing not to get hurt. The second half started, and I know everyone's talking about DTR because why wouldn't they? He had a good game. But the thing that I saw before he really did anything really, really, really good was that he had the look of opportunity in his eyes.
Yep.
That Mond was lacking, and saw his chance to come in, impact a game. And when he came out on the field, even guys, who was the guy who was returning the kickoffs, who was hesitant returning the kickoffs?
I don't.
What
Harley? Mike Harley?
I don't know.
I don't remember.
My goodness. Was it Hassan somebody?
I forget. I don't know.
But even he was bursting through the line of scrimmage. Everybody was playing harder. Everybody was hitting holes faster. The blocking up front got better. And the quarterback who was in the game had versatility.
You know what it felt like? It felt like, and it just so happened to work out this way, but it felt like the game against the New York Jets on Thursday Night Football when Tyrod Taylor had a concussion. Baker Mayfield comes in, and that energy, if you remember what you're talking about right now, it just picked up. And it wasn't just the offense, it wasn't just the receivers, it was everybody. Everybody. When DTR came in, it was almost like the team as a whole just knew there's nothing with Kellen Mond, but this kid, there's something special with this kid here. And that's what happened.
Well, and, players play for other players. There are people whose enthusiasm, it kind of spreads. And what I saw in DTR, everyone, I mean, the touchdown pass was perfectly thrown, perfectly in stride, split two defenders, the kind of play that makes a big play, whether it's on the other end of the field, that play can go for 80 yards or it can go for a clean touchdown. The thing that I noticed, and oh, here's Bronk coming in. Hi, Bronk. The thing that I mean, a guy hurling his body like DTR did to make a block. You had Demetric Felton fidgeting around in the backfield and, indecisive about where his hole was supposed to be, and was able to break right. And that block, I mean, no one is going to say, oh, he pancaked somebody, but he threw his body into that situation to buy Demetric Felton the time he needed to get around. And that's pure effort. And it's something you're not going to teach a guy who doesn't have it. A guy who doesn't have it to give, you're not going to teach that to him. But that electricity that you felt was a guy who just smelled of opportunity. And I wish I saw that more often in these preseason games, where somebody is like a nonstop motor and just, it's like, I'm going to make this damn team and nobody's going to stop me. And the question now, and I don't, and you read this online and you say, look, one game does not a player make. And, the thing I was surprised about was that the DTR got rid of the ball quickly in a timely way. And if he did pull the ball down, he knew where he was going. He had the vision to be able to get outside the pocket and to be able to run with the ball. What I didn't see is his ability to break containment and find somebody down the field, but that's asking an awful lot out of a fifth round, first year player. That's asking a lot.
Well, can I ask? I see Derek's there, so hello, Derek. Can I ask you two guys?
Hello, bro.
Did the play calling change in the second half, or was it still the same? So it wasn't the same stodgy Stefanski screen pass bullshit that we saw in the first quarter.
No, it was sleepy in the first
quarter.
I
went to bed in the fourth quarter because it was 5 a.m. or 4 a.m. here.
Yeah. Nobody would blame you for that. Yeah, I'll answer first, and then Derek might feel different.
Yeah,
but
go ahead.
The impression of doom for Kellen Mond is that we really didn't want him to throw real, the far downfield, because he has a high interception rate in the little action he's had, and the Jets were going to tee off, and you could see that they were sucked in on the screen. The screens kept working because they were just, and I think they were hoping that Kellen Mond would go back, because Kellen Mond is inescapable. He would be like a statue back there and get sacked. You saw it happen once. DTR, on the other hand, looked like he went to his primary read and he threw the ball when he needed to and threaded it in. But more importantly, he pulled the ball down when that first read wasn't there. And instead of doing what Zach Wilson would have done last year for the Jets, which would have been to try to force it in anyway, he was able to use his legs. And, I don't think that legs are something, it's great to have that athleticism. I'm not sure in the long run that keeps quarterbacks playing for a long time because they get hurt. But it certainly added a wrinkle, and that forces the other team, instead of just plowing in, and the way that Saleh coaches his teams is all hype, and go after. we started finding some guys downfield. We started finding guys in the seam. And I think that the play calling did give that opportunity. What do you think, Derek?
Yeah, so for me, I think they tried. I think, when the game started, I was a little bit late. I started watching.
So were they.
Yeah, well, yeah. But about 2 minutes into the game, I think, is when I was able to start watching. And it seemed as if they were trying to move the ball downfield, but Kellen Mond just gets in his own way. He always has. He made his money at Texas A&M throwing to wide open receivers. And yes, last night it was terrible. He couldn't do anything. His decision making was atrocious. At one point, the pick, or maybe it wasn't picked, but it should have been, where he threw it just directly into double coverage on a tight end of all people.
Right.
And it was just like, what are you doing? So then, like you said, Bronk, you see that kind of, slow running the ball and then a lot of screens and a little bit of play action. But yeah, when DTR came in, I think it's obvious you're not going to see the complete Cleveland Browns 2023 offense until the regular season. But little bits and pieces of it, I think you saw a little bit of that because DTR, like I said, is so similar. Play style is so similar to Deshaun that you were able to open it up a little bit. And DTR, he attacked downfield. He actually threw some pretty good balls downfield. Now, he did miss a couple, but, first game, whatever. But to your point, Moo, what you said, this is what I loved from it. A lot of times you will see these rookie quarterbacks, especially, will just immediately panic and try to take off running. DTR, and he said this last night, when it came to stepping up in the pocket. This is something we've talked about over the last few years with Browns quarterbacks. He stepped up into the pocket. It wasn't as if he bailed immediately. So the little fundamental things he had down, and then he was taking off, and then he was getting those 15, 10 yards. And that opened things up. That's why later on in the game, he was able to hit, I think it was Watkins for the touchdown. That effort block, like you talked about. When's the last time we've seen that? When's the last time we've seen a quarterback not like he was just there and made a block or, a half-ass effort. He went out of his way and ran into that defender to get that block for a former teammate of his, who also got to give him some credit. Demetric Felton played pretty well last night. Obviously, It's preseason, but he played well.
I'm still not comfortable with him returning punts, though. Go ahead.
Can I be the anti Felton contingent here? I can't see him making the team, and I hope we have. And the only way he does make the team is that we don't have guys better or bigger or stronger or more talented. He's not an NFL quality player. He may look good when he gets sprung out on these punt returns or something like that, but he's never done anything when he started real games or played in real games. And he's got to go. Like Schwartz has got to go. And I was glad to see that Cade York finally got an extra point through the center of the goalpost instead of nearly veering off.
But even that one went left. I'm wondering what is happened here. The English on the ball just isn't right. I don't know.
Like a Pete Sampras serve or something. The ball just went.
Yeah, I don't get what's going on there, but it's nerve-wracking because that would be another 4th-round pick down the shitter. We are looking at 3rd-round picks like Anthony Schwartz right down the shitter, and honestly, I don't. I want to be humane. All right. I mean,
I don't. Get ready to learn Chinese, Anthony.
Anthony obviously chronicled his emotional difficulties that he was experiencing, and I think he just needs to maybe have a walk in life that isn't performing in front of 80,000 people. And where every mistake you make is magnified. He's just not cut out for the job.
Yeah, the expectations are too much for him. I mean, you've probably hired radio guys, and they probably, the odd one might have froze on the air or
Yeah,
just
yeah.
done something wacky.
Well, we actually had a number of things happen. What we would do, we would bring a guy in, and he would figure he was just going to be interviewed, right? And we said, "You're going on the air at midnight."
Well, and then they fucked up.
And we'd have him looking at the guy running the board, so we knew how to, this is the kind of board we're working with. You're a pro, you should know, and fire away. And there is one person who wasn't even the person that was on the tape. They were. That's the kind of thing you just I know. Hilarious. I mean, it was like, wow.
That's so corrupt. That's unbelievable.
No, I mean, that was identity theft before its time.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
But then you had and I'll speak lovingly of one of my former people in Flint, Michigan. He was hired, and he was my assistant program director. Then he moved up to be my program director in Binghamton, New York. Don Hurley, and we brought Don in from San Diego, and we usually didn't get people, and we got his tape, and it's like, this guy's good, man. He got a great voice, but what was great was that he was a better person, and we put him on the air at midnight, and man, it was seamless. Same guy, same exact thing, and that was what you were looking for. You were looking for somebody who just knew the job and was professional and knew how to step up to the mic and do what it was they had to do.
Yeah, so that's what Schwartz can't do.
He's under a magnifying glass.
I mean, we can't, crucify the poor lad, but he's just in the wrong line of work,
Yeah, and right now, this. You want to talk about the worst possible thing that could have happened? I mean, another fumble off an end around. It's the only play that they run for him.
It's the only play they trust him with.
And no, because he's fumbled them before. I mean, he's just carries the ball in the wrong hand. He's just not a football player, and he's a track guy, but he's not a football player. And there's more to football than speed.
And the one thing that he could, or at least should have been able to excel at greatly, is the return game. Punt return, kick return. It's really not, it's not easy by any sense of the imagination, but at his speed, like you said, if he was just able to hold on to the football and just run to the open area, that would have been the perfect role for him, but he can't do it. And you see it again, like you just said, with these end arounds. It's kind of the same formula: get the ball in your hands and run, which he should be great at. But as soon as he gets touched, that ball is out, and he's a liability. He hurts the Browns more than he helps the Browns. So you just can't hold on to him anymore. It's over. And especially with a guy like Jalen Darden, who I know didn't play last night, but this is a guy who's got way more upside, can return punts and kicks, has the speed, not as fast, but he doesn't fumble every time, and he actually catches the football. That's the type of player that Schwartz is competing with, and he just does not stand a chance at all.
Yeah, but Dalen Baldwin is out now for an extended time.
No, I'm saying Jaden Darden.
Oh, Darden. I'm sorry.
The other guy, yeah.
Yeah, I don't know if he's hurt or what. I don't know.
Which one is 81?
If you watched the game on the television, you wouldn't know who any of these players were because they weren't interested in telling you.
Yeah, and I knew from the beginning when Chris Collinsworth called him Kevin Stefanski.
Yeah.
We were in for a long, long evening.
Yeah, I mean, fucking Collinsworth needs to retire. The guy's like, he's
I thought Klecko was gonna end up going Pentecostal when he tripped coming out on the field. How would that have been for like an embarrassing moment when your moment comes?
Was that?
Just pre-game when they were announcing.
They didn't show that here.
All the people who got put, into the hall, and he stumbled, and it was like, oh boy.
Yeah, and how about the every 10 seconds we got a show and talk about Aaron Rodgers? That was just ridiculous.
Fuck off.
What a nice guy. What a nice guy he is. And boy, isn't he all for his teammates? We'll see how long that lasts.
Oh, Moo and I are old enough to remember this, but the fucking Melissa Stark talking to Rondé Barber, and then they show his mom, Geraldine, and I instantly thought Geraldine of the Flip Wilson show because she fucking looked exactly like it. And I about spewed out like a half a liter of Diet Coke out of my mouth.
Devil made me do it.
Suck it to me, suck it to me, suck it to me, suck it to me.
God almighty.
So, Derek, you need to look up Flip Wilson and
Geraldine.
Geraldine from 50 years ago.
And the anthem, look.
Okay. I have a comment about that because
it was better than Fergie.
Musician. Yeah, I'm the musician here in the group, and I'm going to say that it was like when they give the little special kid Timmy the chance to score a touchdown in running the ball. They let the little special kid sing the national anthem, and you have to be nice to him because he's the special kid. But
Timmy couldn't speak. What are you talking about?
You know what was amazing to me? It's like it's the proudest moment of a football player's life, which never lasts as long as it should, by the way. But the best moment,
God bless him.
The induction of the Football Hall of Fame is the greatest thing that can happen. And why somebody would extrapolate that and say, hey, and we're going to let him sing the national anthem. I mean, was the person who was supposed to sing it, did they not show up? And they had to go to him?
I don't know. I doubt it. I think that was probably a plan. But yeah, it was a lot like giving the ball to the special kid and letting him score a touchdown. And
he said he was nervous, and I agree with that.
He had every right to be.
But I wasn't really paying attention to the national anthem, but he made me pay attention to it. For a minute, I thought I was in a karaoke bar. No, I mean,
no, I know.
It's like Forrest Gump's box of chocolates. When you go to a karaoke club, there are going to be some people who just wow you. They go, wow, man, these people can sing, And then there's somebody who comes up and it's like, what are you doing? And it's like I'll give you a story here locally, because now that I'm in Ohio, I can really embarrass local people. I don't know the guy's name, but he came out and he sang the song Big Balls by AC/DC.
Wow.
And he was like 65 years old and shrieking, I got big balls, big balls. And you just want to you just want to be someplace else. But there's nothing worse than following somebody who is really good. There was a woman there who sang Hit Me With Your Best Shot, Pat Benatar song, and she was really good. And then this guy comes up with big balls,
Wow.
And it was awful. And we're used to hearing, for the most part, people who are really good singers singing the anthem because it's a hard song to sing. But this, from the first four notes, I looked over at Rox, because we both sing karaoke, and she looked at me and she just shook her head like, no.
It was like No Dog from Randy Jackson. It's a no from me, dog.
Yeah, exactly. It was awful.
Pitchy there.
Yeah, and it went on and on and on. And by the end, man, he thought he had it, He even tried to go higher register, and it was like, no, don't do that. I want the planes to fly overhead now,
And the keyboard player was really trying to take over the whole anthem in the background. He's like adding flourishes and all this shit, saying, fuck it, man, I'm gonna go for it here.
Just drown him out. Yeah.
Wow.
So
yeah, that's pretty much what I thought.
And then of course the New York, bias is in
Aaron
fucking
Rodgers
Canton,
suck
Ohio.
job.
You would think you were in Manhattan, for God's sakes, and it was like, Aaron Rodgers pretending to be a real team guy, and anybody knows that he's a prick. Everybody knows that.
You don't have to be on the left or the right or the center to know that he's a prick. He is definitely
he's just
douche.
he blames his teammates. Another guy I was happy with was Cedric Tillman. He showed twice.
Oh God,
and he actually did something that they could have technically called him for at a penalty when he just whacked the guy's arms off him. But man, that was a good move because the guy was trying to grab him anyway and got called for holding. But he looks like he has some good hands, and he got further down the field than David Bell has in a year and a year plus.
Boy, that you talk about. Go ahead, Bron. Go ahead.
Yeah, another good thing that I noticed was that it was the Jets that were making the stupid penalties, hitting guys out of bounds and stuff like that. I know we had some tight ends covered and shit like that happen, but at least we didn't have any defensive penalties like we always did in preseason, where somebody tried to take somebody's head off or hit them 5 yards out of bounds, or we didn't have any of those roughing penalties that we usually get.
Yeah. Now, Derek, what were you going to say?
No, I was gonna say on David Bell, I'm starting to get very concerned that he's just a guy because you said it. Cedric Tillman came in, his first ever game looked apart. I mean, he only had 2 receptions for, I think it was 35 yards, but if you watch him every single play, he was doing things out there, and the plays that he did end up making on those 2 receptions were great. And he, at his size, and plus, here's the thing too. If looking at our wide receiver room right now, he's obviously not going to be a pivotal piece. But based on the little flashes that he's shown, and if that continues, and you can kind of have him as that little weapon that you can throw out on the field, boy, oh boy. I mean, Kevin Stefanski, if he uses him right, he could be a pretty good piece for us this year, which would be great because David Bell didn't do anything.
And, one of the things, and I agree with something you just said, you don't expect from a Cedric Tillman, like, to step out on the field and be the man. But again, in this offense, from what we've seen in the past couple of years, a guy getting 15 to 17 yards down the field and having separation is something that we haven't seen. And I understand, but that's against, low-level defensive backs, in the first preseason game. But it makes me want to see more of him, is what it amounts to, because I haven't seen any sign that David Bell can do anything but run across the middle of the field and fall down.
Well, and the good news for Cedric Tillman is in college, he did that not just against the scrub teams. He did that against Alabama. He did it against Georgia. So, I mean, yes, that's at the college level. This is the NFL. So he's going to have to prove it still. But
it's college plus. When you're playing against those programs, it's college plus.
Yeah. So that's a good sign. That's a good sign for the future. And it's a long preseason. So we'll see. But so far, really, really good signs. He flashed a lot.
I'll tell you something that made me kind of chuckle. I mean, there are messages within messages, right? And, DeJuan Jones played every snap.
Yeah.
I mean, and his weight is obviously of concern. His conditioning is of concern. And how's that? How is that for a message?
He needed to. Him and Whippler, if you notice, both played. And
yes.
DeJuan Jones, listen, I came on here and I told you a bunch of negative things, and those still ring. They still ring true. There's still concerns, obviously, with his character and, like you just said, his weight and just the things that he does. But with that being said, he did play the whole game, and I was blown away because he wasn't going up against scrubs. He went up against some guys who are the type of
who
players
had actually gotten playing time in
Yes.
games. Yeah.
Well,
Yes.
didn't he
And-
go up against their top draft pick?
Yes,
or
they did. He went up against,
McDonald
I
or
want to
whatever?
say, Will McDonald, and then
Will McDonald, yeah.
Jermaine Johnson, who was their pick last year. He went up against those guys. But if you remember, when we drafted him, I said I'm concerned against the fast, shifty guys. He went up against, like you just said, two really good ones and held
Yep.
his own. 35 pass blocking attempts, if you want to call it like that, 35 pass blocking plays when he played in the game, and zero pressures. I'm not going to ignore that. He played very well. Now it's
Well, it
just
takes
up
about
to him.
8 seconds to run around the guy. He's so fucking big.
Well, the thing that's
But
going to tell
if
the
I were
story.
Drew Forbes or Hudson or Michael Dunn, I'd be kind of shitting myself right now.
Well, Hudson got beat.
They.
Yeah. The thing with DeJuan Jones is the question isn't that he doesn't have nimble feet for a big guy and he's got a lot of size. It's balance, technique, and they will find a way to expose a weakness. And once they expose that weakness, he has to become a student. And whether he has the patience to become a student, I thought it was interesting. Stefanski after the game said that he was dancing in the locker room. Not Stefanski, DeJuan Jones was. He doesn't know how tired he is. He'll continue to get better. I mean, he might be a flaky guy. I don't know. But, man, he's a massive mountain of a man. Jeez, Weezo.
I want to see them flip him to left tackle in the preseason. Just try it out. It doesn't hurt to try it out. Now's the time. Wills is not reliable. Might as well. Just play around with it.
Yeah, and, conditioning, we saw this, we've seen it with a lot of players, actually. But, I mean, people who start out at 298 pounds who balloon to 370.
Yep.
And DeJuan Jones' weight, what did it went up to almost 370, did it not?
Yeah.
It's a dangerous thing. It's like Perry with the Bears. I mean, people remember him as being this big mammoth, he was 298 as a rookie. All right.
Yeah. Correct.
And, by the time he was done, he was over 360. And, it's conditioning, lack of conditioning shortens careers. That's a fact. And the fact that he came into camp, mini camp, so grotesquely out of shape is reason for concern in and of itself. We'll see if he can keep himself going. But at 6'8" and 374, I'd say that he can comfortably lose a good 30, 35 pounds and maintain strength and add agility and quickness.
Yeah. He's the biggest boom bust pick Andrew Berry has ever had. Because at his best, he could be great. At his worst, he's out of the league.
Well, the fact that he dominated at Ohio State doesn't mean a lot, because it's not like, and I noticed 2 more teams are set to join the Big 18 now. And
Big 50.
and the Pac-4 is suffering because of it.
What the fuck is NBC doing Big 10 games on Saturday nights now?
Because there's so many teams.
Yeah,
it's all about money. And, and literally, what used to be the Pac-10 or the Pac-12, excuse me, is now down to the Pac-9. And with the two other defections, I mean, this is going to be, it's going to change the way we watch that game. And it's kind of a shame because it's going to force a group of players to try to become recruited by certain programs and certain leagues. And it's going to be that much harder to get to the professional level when you're playing with lesser competition from schools that basically don't have equal, recruitment kinds of opportunities. It's going to be a very difficult thing.
What's going to happen now with the whole new playoff system is supposed to have every Power 5 conference, their champion is supposed to be in it. So now that the Pac-12 is losing Washington, Oregon, are we going to have just a conference of nobodies in the playoffs now?
That's the thing.
What are they going to do?
Well, it's fucked up, isn't it?
Well, stop and think for a minute. And I don't mean to, go off on a tangent, but if you're talking about the road to the World Series, somebody's got to come out of the American League Central. And Minnesota doesn't deserve it. Cleveland doesn't deserve it. The other two teams are somewhere so far out of sight, it doesn't matter. I mean, and one of those teams is going to make it. And and that's what's going to happen. The best of the worst is what it's going to come down to. And they'll just get crushed. I mean, they'll play a game and they will get beat. Something like, they'll play in Alabama, who will run the score up to like 65 to, 7. Yeah. And that'll be that. And it'll lose credibility. And that's what's happening in a lot of sports. A lot of 500 basketball teams, they wanted to expand the playoffs. And so who do you have? You have a bunch of teams who are right around 500 and they're fighting for the play-in. And what do you have with the play-in? You got 2 500 teams playing and they disappear quickly because they're not going to compete with teams historically like the Bucks and the Sixers. If they're, it's not going to work because they have no roster. And that's what
Keith, participation trophy. That's exactly what that is.
That's what it is. And it's like, we made the playoffs, and it really doesn't mean anything.
An added bye week for, like you just said, in Alabama, Georgia, Ohio State, Clemson, whoever gets to play, whoever comes out of the Pac-12, might as well chop that up for a bye week.
And you can play your second stringers and still get away with that one.
And here's the other thing. If you want to personalize it even more, if you are a professional baseball team and you want to add help at the trade deadline, it has to come out of somebody's hide. If you don't know, the Guardians, Josh Naylor is now on the injured list. And and what do? We pick up a 35-year-old Cole Calhoun from the California Angels minor league organization, who's a career 243 hitter. I mean, at this point, they're trying to lose. They've thrown the flag of surrender. None of the camaraderie that was there on the team last year is the bubble that was burst. And they have no business even being, in my mind, no reason to be on the field. They just, all their good starting pitching is injured. And part of that is because of previous utilization of said pitchers by overworking them in innings pitched. And then finally, it's a matter of luck running out as far as bringing up really good young pitchers who immediately hit it off. Arm trouble plaguing the team. And it really is a shame for Francona to go out this way, but he doesn't need this aggravation.
No.
And he is aggravated. Make no mistake. When the when Antonetti and the other guy jump on a plane to go to Houston, to try to explain this to the coaches and the players, you're like watching the movie Major League. You're not going to believe anything that Antonetti says. You're not going to believe anything that the organization says, because they just don't want to pay anybody anymore. And they just have decided that they're playing for 3 years down the road, which never comes. It comes, but we're still lousy. And, but it's this terrible. It's like this, Derek, in every walk of life. We have gone from a vast middle class, and I'm not going to get political on your asses, but it is a society of haves and have-nots. And on the athletic fields, the quarterback position, the haves and have-nots, the team who have a chance, the teams with the have-nots keep going back and forth and saying, well, maybe we can give Baker Mayfield a shot. And the funny thing is, and it's not funny because I don't wish bad things on Baker Mayfield, unlike other people. Some people do, but he's not doing so well with Tampa, and the job is his to lose. And I was reading that some obscure backup is starting to get positive talk from the coaching staff there.
Kyle Trask.
That's right.
Oh, where was he from?
Florida. He played at Florida.
Yeah.
And there might be a local tie-in to try to put more butts in the seats. Who knows what it means? But
Baker's should retire and move to Hollywood and do movies and commercials and shit like that. He'd be good suited to that. I wish him well. One thing I wanted to talk about was I heard, I want to make sure I heard this right at 3 a.m, was that there's no cut down day. There's just like one final roster day this year.
Actually, what they did is they consulted the history books, and they wanted to go back to World War II for Hitler's final solution. And so what they did is they just decided that they're going to do it all at once.
Do it all at once.
I mean, why spread? What show I was on that caught me off guard.
Why spread out 6 million people when you can get them all at once, right? I mean, the fact of the matter is there is no time anymore. Preseason is a blink of an eye. I mean, it's going to be more practices that we don't see, not games that we see. And then suddenly come September 10th, they're going to be off and running. And,
well, I think the good thing about last night's game is that our practice squad probably looks better than the Jets practice squad. And that could be really important in December when some of these fuckers have to play for their injured starters, at the end of the year. I mean, we may be playing John Kelly Jr. at running back and Cedric Tillman at the number 2 and, people like that. So, good luck to us.
The good news, or the takeaway, I should say, for me defensively is I thought the run schemes were much improved. I thought the linebackers played a lot better than they did last year. Yep. So, yes, it's preseason. Doesn't matter. No. But again, just kind of like what I said earlier with you're not going to see the offense. You're not going to see the defense either. But again, it's those bits and pieces and crumbs that you have to pick up on. And just noticing the little improvements gives me great hope because, I mean, hey, you replace Alex Wright and Isaiah Thomas with Myles Garrett and fucking Zadarius Smith. And then on the interior, same thing. You add Tomlinson in there. And it's just like, well, okay, if the guys who are the backups of the backups are playing competent and playing well, is it because they're that good, or is it because the scheme is better and they're being used in the right spot?
Maybe a bit of both, but
maybe both.
If I were a Jets fan, I'd be annoyed at how they couldn't do anything on offense other than
Zach
that
Wilson
play.
looked like shit.
Right. I mean, But, well, I mean, how much? I mean, he's going to be walking around with a clipboard for as long as Aaron Rodgers is upright.
I mean, the Jets got the ball handed to them twice on turnovers in our territory, and they got what 10 points off of that at the most.
They kicked a bunch of field
Ridiculous.
goals. The first 2 or 3 drives were all field goals from them. They couldn't finish.
Yep. 0.
And what about Rob? It's good seeing you too, man. Yeah, I mean, people who go back in the big time machine. Yeah.
37 players are cut.
Yeah, I mean, it's just a big whack and it's done. You know, I got 2 stories before I get out of here because I gotta. Yeah, I don't want to. I was going to say stink in karaoke, but I mean literally, I have to shower off. And
just jump in the pool.
Yeah, it's another. I'll be the chlorinated singer. Maybe I should be the masked singer. As long as my nose doesn't come through the mask, they'll never know who I am. In a new documentary, Johnny Manziel says he attempted suicide after the Browns cut him in 2016. Yeah. His weight had dropped from 215 to 175. How low can you go? Because he started using OxyContin and cocaine. Yeah. Now he faced a misdemeanor assault charge after being accused of hitting his then girlfriend. But like in every other thing that he started, he never completed it. He couldn't complete it. Yeah, it was incomplete. And then he said he was diagnosed with bipolar disorder. No wonder he didn't know which way he was going on the. Yeah. Oh, that's not what that is. Then he refused to enter rehab. And then he began self-sabotaging, going on a $5 million bender. I have to, folks. I have to, wow. Before attempting to end his life. And he couldn't even do that right. That's a quarterback sneak.
He's like one of these idiots, who's in their 20s, who wins the big lottery jackpot. And one of these idiots in their 20s wins the big lottery jackpot and then decides to spend it all on hookers and suites in Vegas, and all the money's gone in 6 months, and they're half dead from heroin or whatever. Yeah, that's what it is.
I'm getting
one of the butt sisters, Kremley.
Butt sisters, yes, Bertha.
Bum 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 bum. Oh, and get this,
troglodyte.
Exactly.
Is that where you're going with that?
I knew there is.
You should do that at karaoke.
No, I should not. And I'm not going to do the national anthem either. There are some things when you read stories you're not supposed to laugh. Yeah. Manziel said he had purchased a gun months earlier with the plan to use it to carry out death by suicide, but when he pulled the trigger, the weapon malfunctioned.
Oh, did it come out with one of those Wile E. Coyote boom flags?
Never buy handguns from Acme. They never work. Yeah, but I mean, isn't that incredible? The idea of him pulling the trigger and the malfunction, it sounds like his throwing motion.
Aside from the fact of wasted life and all the seriousness of all that, I'm just glad we didn't have a Moohead show where we had to talk about a dead Johnny Manziel.
Yeah,
I'm glad we didn't have to do that.
And here's the cluelessness of Johnny. Still to this day, don't know what happened. The gun just clicked on me. It's like he's probably wondering about his whole fucking career. The same thing. It's like, I don't know what happened. This is just where I came in.
The question for you guys, Derek might know the answer. Did Kelly Mond take away Johnny Manziel's Texas A&M records?
I don't think so.
Or did who's their leading quarterback at Texas A&M? Yeah, you can have a look for that one.
I'll tell you what,
they're horrible.
Yeah,
Kellen Mond. Go ahead.
No, go ahead.
I was just gonna say real fast. Kellen Mond. There's a lot of people because apparently every year I just have this where I just hate on a couple guys. You know, it was Will Levis, whatever. But Kellen Mond has been somebody who has pissed me off for the longest time, because when you go back to that draft, everybody was talking about, oh, he's got a lively arm and he's a playmaker. And I watched Texas A&M and I'm like, this motherfucker's throwing to wide open people. And he doesn't even look good doing that. And the Vikings, if you remember, the Vikings took him, and I was like, well, good luck. And then somehow one day, you know, the worst notification of my life, the fucking Browns signed Kellen Mond, and it's like,
wow.
Whatever.
This final story is, it's, you know, they say that patriotism's the last thing to which a scoundrel clings, right?
Yes.
Yeah. Here we go with the NFL. Alarmed by an uptick in betting-related controversies, U.S. Representative Dina Titus in mid-June issued letters to commissioners and presidents of 12 prominent sports leagues inquiring about their gambling policies and efforts to protect the integrity of the games in the modern landscape. 34 states, the District of Columbia, and Puerto Rico have launched legal betting markets following a ruling by the U.S. Supreme Court in 2018. You can't tell me that there wasn't some kind of a plan involved in all of this. But here's how you know when the bullshit artists come out and you're back, Bronk. This is how you know.
Myself out.
Jonathan Nabavi, the league's vice president of public policy. There is no higher principle at the NFL than safeguarding the integrity of the game. Our efforts to uphold game integrity have been going on throughout the history of the league, and our commitment has not wavered since the Supreme Court's decision. The increase of accessibility of sports betting has made our efforts even more important. The integrity of the game is what's important. Chuck Hughes being taken off the field and dying. Thumbs up. Paralyzed for life. Darryl Stingley then dead. These are the things that really matter. God bless America and the United States.
You know what you should have done? You should have read that with Franklin D. Roosevelt's voice. Because that's like, you could have done a Roosevelt speech with that.
I have to have the echo effect in order to do that. Day of infamy.
Infamy.
I'm telling you, sports betting. I mean, I don't know. I just turned 21 in May, right? So I've only been doing it for a little.
Be careful, Derek.
A little while. But I'll tell you this much. I got absolutely fucked because I had a parlay to record a hit parlay, and I hit every single one of them, right?
You said so, and they didn't think so.
Yes. Well, guess what? Go figure. The last one to hit, Shohei fucking Ohtani, the man who's going to get $500 million. And this motherfucker managed to get hurt. I think it was like his second at bat. And because of that, there's a rule that if they get injured, but they play at all, then it doesn't count. And it's like, man, I'm tired of this shit.
Well, and that's what they're saying, is that even though these legal sports books are all over the place, there's still an underground betting market, which is huge. And, you know, you're just asking yourself to get ripped off completely.
It's legal money laundering. That's what it is.
And it takes advantage of people's frailties and, you know, people who are underemployed, unemployed, you know, they find time to do all the wrong things. And this is, you know, the get rich quick plan that never works.
I would ban lotteries myself, but hey, you know.
Well, here's the problem.
Get hit by lightning.
As somebody who is new to this, what they do is actually very smart. It's a very smart business plan because you sign up and it's all, you know, it's all the flashy whatever. But You sign up, hey, deposit $5 and we'll give you 200. That's great. Okay. I play my 200 of free bets that you give me, and then I'm hooked. At that point, you're like, oh, well, I won $50 on a free bet on not the Guardians, but whoever the fuck, the Astros, right? And then at that point, when you're all out, you're thinking, oh, well, I can do that again. And then you try and you fail, but you're close. And then you say, oh, well, I can do it again. And next thing you know, you're fucked. So, I mean, if you want to do it, I do it. I'm not saying don't do it, but just you got to limit yourself.
The thing that's troubling, and I'll end with this, is that there's so much money being thrown around college football because now I don't know if you've been keeping up with the headlines, but 4 current and past student athletes at Iowa State, including their quarterback, Hunter Deckers, and 3 student athletes at the University of Iowa, were criminally charged in a sports betting investigation. You wonder how it trickles down into collegiate. There's so much money in collegiate football now, and there's going to be more, and then more money than you could throw with multiple fists and hands and legs, and in the NFL, it's a temptation that nobody wanted to turn down, but it's creating a bigger problem. And the integrity of the game argument is so ridiculous. I mean, the big cushy helmets that don't work, they're doing nothing to protect players, and they're doing nothing to protect fans. They're only protecting their own bank accounts, and that's the truth. So it's a shame, but that's what's going on. I got to get out of here because I got to take that shower because I'm really seriously beginning to smell myself. And it really, I know it stinks worse than Amsterdam's comments in the chat room. That's bad. I know.
So what does Dick Goddard have to say? Dick Goddard.
Another warm day in Northeast Ohio. I found a dead mouse floating in my swimming pool, and it wasn't moving. So I named him Johnny Weissmuller because he can't swim anymore either.
He's dead. Yeah.
The weather's been great. I got to be honest with you. I got to find a place to eat before we go out singing the karaoke stuff.
Heat, though. That's the thing. You're used to this heat. You lived in Florida.
Oh, this is nothing. People are saying, "Oh my God, it's so hot! I don't know what to do." Yeah, I mean, it's like you've never been to Florida, man. I mean, I'm walking around outside. I'm in my swimming pool. I don't have any suntan lotion on. I'm just having a ball up here, and I'm looking down in Florida. It was like 118 degree man on fire. Because when we kiss, ooh, fire. Yeah. Spontaneous combustion. And this is great. And the weather has been consistently within a range of 89 degrees to the high, 76 to 75, 475 on the days that are cooler. And those days are beautiful. By the time we get done with dinner, we go out on our deck, and it's like, my goodness, it's like 64 degrees.
Oh, yeah. Isn't that the best?
With a breeze. I mean, it's like
the best.
Without all that humidity, and
Wow,
and you know what? You know what's really good? when you or your neighbors just cut their grass, and you got that fresh cut smell, and it's nice and cool out, and you can just relax.
Well, the problem is the neighbor likes chili, and it's a different fresh cut smell that we get.
Well,
so
sorry about
no, I'm kidding. Neighbors here are wonderful. We're having a good time, and I have a little bit more time left here, probably another 2 months before I go back. So, we're already trying to figure out one thing, that people can do to help me. If you're based in Northeast Ohio, let me know, because I'm going to be following it voraciously. The weather, as far as when the weather turns, I know that the first 2 weeks in October, You can't answer, Bronk, because you haven't been here recently.
Wait a minute. I had family in Northeast Ohio. I still do.
Okay.
And I've flown over to America, and I do not fly to Cleveland, Ohio between the dates of like the 20th of October till about the 20th of March, because I don't want to be caught on the runway on a slippy runway in Hopkins and nearly slide off and get killed, like nearly happened to me about 30 years ago. So
what I'm
over
hearing
for
is
Christmas.
2 weeks. I'm hearing you could get away with 2 weeks in October, then get out of
That's
Dodge.
usually when I come over. It's end of September, beginning of October. That is usually fucking beautiful. So I would definitely stay at least into the 15th to the 20th of October.
And what kind of high temperatures are you looking at the first 2 weeks of October?
70s.
Yeah, I mean that would be awesome.
70.
And then I'm hearing that like May is the time to come because April can still get.
You could have
difficult.
the odd snowstorm in April. Yes, that does happen.
But it's a lot of cold and wet, perhaps, in April.
Yes.
Well, you've seen the baseball games,
Yeah, exactly.
You can get the odd day where it's 30, and then the next day it'll be fucking 82. That's when you get that weather. So that's up to you. But if Florida is already like 100 in the end of March, you might as well fucking leave that and take the odd chance about the snow in April.
I'm still waiting to have snow on my birthday. I know someday it's gonna happen, but I'm waiting on it.
All right, guys, I got to get the heck out of here. Thanks everybody for tuning in to this edition of Moohead Radio. We will be back again, like we are, on Monday, and we'll have some more stuff to talk about. Until then, hasta la vista, Pastor Heads. Good night.